Hi, it's showtime. Today's show is going to be a little bit different. We only had 3 questions, and I'm going to kind of go through those because two of the people I believe who asked questions are already in the chat. Let's see if I can find them. No, only one is. Well, I'm going to go ahead and post this one. And I'm going to read these in the garden. And then I'm going to talk about a thing that's come up in several of the questions I've been asked, both on the channel and off the channel. So I'm going to give you about another few minutes for a couple more of you to get in here. I guess I'll go over to the garden because that's where we're going to answer the questions. And if you remember, the garden allows me to show time. This pizza pie slice up here, this is winter, spring, summer, and fall. And I'm finding from the feedback I get from people that the timing on this is the timing is working out in the garden. So I want to emphasize that to you so you can ask more time-related questions. Puka Rabbit. Okay. Puka Rabbit says, I recently caught your garden video from last month about connecting with your guides and how you connected with your guides. Do you have any suggestions? Well, I'm just going to ask for timing for her about connecting with her guides. After I read the other 2 questions, this really sent me down a rabbit hole for Puka Rabbit about how to connect with our guides. And I'm going to talk about how I started connecting with my guides, different things I've used to help me. And we're going to talk about why so many of us are feeling like we need to be connecting with something. And that even means if you're already connected, you're feeling like you need to connect with something. I'm going to hide your comment, Puka Rabbit, because you take up too much of the screen. Why'd you do that? You used to be able to see the whole garden. There you can see the whole garden. I knocked my camera. Okay. I hope moving the camera didn't make you ill. If it did, I'm sorry. I also have vestibular coordination problems, and I barf when I see things like that. Okay, Puka Bear. Connecting with Puka Bear's guides. What information, timing, or otherwise can you tell me about Puka Bear connecting with her guides? Ooh, well, you came out with a great stone in the tree of life, way up at the top here on my garden, the way it's laid out. It's your path is going to be blessed with clarity and wisdom, which is really important. And if you see the value stone, it's not exactly in all 4 of them. It's actually in water and fire. So your grounding stone, your pyrite, that is in water and fire. And when it's in fire, it says clarification is going to come from dealing with your past. And water said grounding changes right now are setting into long-term patterns. This is a perfect question for you to be asking right now. And this is why I wanted to open with your question, Puka Rabbit, because I have a whole stack of books over here. I'm going to talk about some experiences I went through, all of which led me from about 2016 on into a much higher path. Up until 2016, I've been a real good tarot reader with a real good gig. But after that's when the stones came in and all the other information came in, and I began to understand how the system works for me. And that's the other thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to try to hand you a lot of tools. You can go look at them. You can figure out which ones work best for you. Now, your body is between air and earth, and it's grounding your thoughts, and you're growing from things you've learned in the past, which is really good. It means you're not starting with a clean slate. You're starting from somewhere and ideas you've already had about how you work inside. And then out of your past, you have your clarity, which is in fire. Use ideas from your past to come to your current life solutions. And your mind is also in fire. And it said, don't be tied back by false illusions of your past. And as far as I can see, timing-wise, this summer and fall are going to be really important for you. working with your new energies. And if you'll hold on, Puka Bear, I'm going to answer the other two questions, and then I'll get to your question, which is really the biggest one for today. Tammy Jackson. Okay, Tammy. Hey, my family. Yeah, I know your family's been going through a lot of changes, Tammy. I've been following you for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. Okay, let's see. Tammy's new cycle. Tammy's lost close family members, had to come with ideas about how her life should have been led. She's been going through a lot. And so have a lot of us been going through a lot, trying to figure out how to make all this work. So, okay. And Tammy, you can see a lot of this stuff's just foundational. It's happening to us right now. It's falling right in the middle, right in the fire, water, air, earth. But your mind is in the present, and that's good. That's a good thing for you to have your mind in the present. And it says that's reading to me, and I'm going to start with that because it's the furthest out. All the signs and clues are coming for you right now about changes that are happening in your life, and you're entering into the cycle right now, and you can feel that's happening to you right now. Your grounding is between air and earth. And earth is where things emerge from, and air is how they take off into our life. And your grounding is more is being brought forward right now in your life, but mental actions are helping you move this into a path of abundance for yourself. So you're doing really well. I think falls, a lot of the stuff you're dealing with now is going to hit harder in the fall. And you're going to learn about embodying your past. Your clarity is going to come from ideas from your past life, maybe things you didn't continue to carry forward with that you wish you had. You're going to move forward because your spirit's also here in the fire. And it says, don't let old thoughts cloud your enlightening ideas, because a bit of your spirit is in water. And it's saying that this is a period of time when transmutation or the complete change of your spirit can happen. You've gone through so many body blows. You're seeing yourself in a new light. You're going to be able to move forward, and I think it's going to be in the fall that it's going to become concrete. But you're growing through a lot of things, and just be patient with it. And Mary, may I please have a garden reading? It will be my first one. Oh, okay. I hope I explained enough to you so that you can kind of follow along. She says she thinks I'm one of the best guests other people have. Yay! Call them all. Tell them to have me back. Okay, we're just doing a general Mary Lair garden reading. Well, girl, you got stuff spread all over the place. So we're going to hide your question, which is just a general garden reading. And we're going to start with the root chakra, which is where your clarity is. And that's really important. A lot of people have a lot of problems with the root chakra, but it says right now you're tying your cosmic wisdom to what's needed to be at your very base. In other words, you're very grounded, and things you're thinking about and working on right now are really important to you, and they're setting in, and it shows you're kind of moving all over the place. I think this summer and fall are going to be really interesting for you, but by winter, your new spiritual changes are going to be locked in. And you have your spirit stone in the past, which is, have you missed the transformation that's been happening to you? It's almost finished. Almost finished. You have a tiny little bit in sacral chakra. That's going to be real revealing. It says spirit inspires creative energy. So if you've been looking to do something more creative in your life, whether it's a hobby or just at work or new things are coming to you, accept them because you're ready for it. You're completely in a great phase. Your mind's in restate, so you're really rethinking all this stuff through. How your situations turn out to be exactly how you view them. So if you're having real problems with it, rethink the question, reword it, reestablish what the problem is, and decide what you can do to make it different. And your body is between earth and air, which is really good. Grounding your thoughts and embodying your past and moving forward, because you get the best stones up here. Your grounding stone is between the crown chakra. It gives you confidence to be able to connect to all your energy right now. Your grounding energy is doing that, and it falls into the tree of life. And learn the lessons you need from harmony. You're very good at sniffing out deception when someone's lying to you. And if that's been going on to you up until now, and this is saying, I don't need that anymore, I'm walking away from it. And this stone verifies that. So you need to be grounded in that thought. Now, I'm going to go back to my first question, or what I'm going to talk about. Put those there. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I forgot at the last minute to type this in, and I typed it in wrong again. I had my caps lock on, and it was typing it the wrong way. Okay. Okay, what we're going to talk about is in this season of change. It's all well and good for people like me to say, oh, you're all in kinds of change. Well, we all are in all kinds of change, and that's absolutely true. And where Puka Rabbit's question came to me was, how did I change? Well, and how did I get to know my guides, which was even more important at the time. I actually found the ticket in my computer files. I was looking for something else, where I went to see Brian Weiss in Austin in February of 2018. Yes, 2018. And I had gone to see him. I'd read all his books, Many Lives, Many Masters, and a bunch of other stuff. And I really, really, really wanted to see him and see how he worked, because I was at the time starting to do a lot of past life readings. And I thought, well, this is kind of fun. I'll go see this. And I went to his thing. And one of the things he did, there were 800 people in this ballroom sitting in those incredibly comfortable chairs they supply at hotels to sit in, the ones that you just can't wait to stand up and get out of there. I sat in the chair, and the first one he did was, he was going to take us back to a past life. And he took me he hypnotized, in my case, back to a very interesting past life. And when I saw what was happening around this woman, I was in China. I was in ancient China. And I could look down and see my little feet in those funny shoes. And I realized I was very small. And I mean, I felt small next to the size I am now. I'm all of 5'4". You can't tell because we all fit that much in the screen, right? I'm all 5'4". And this woman was tiny next to me. So she had to be about 4.5 feet tall. And she was in a dark alley, cowering. And the whole story came back through my mind. I understood exactly why I was there. I was about to be killed. I had been working with a bunch of political rebels. This should amaze no one who watches my stuff. I was involved with a bunch of political rebels. And at the end, some of the other people sold me out to save their own skin. And I was waiting to be caught. And I went, holy crap, I keep setting myself up for that. Like I'm going to change it if I didn't know it happened. Next time it came up in my life, that didn't happen. Obviously they didn't kill me, but I mean, they wouldn't have anyway. But the story was, that's who she was. And I thought, well, this is pretty interesting. So then the next time he says, I'm going to hypnotize you. He hypnotized us 5 times, all 800 of us. And you got to talk to the person next to you to see if they got hypnotized. And I wear a Fitbit watch, which watches my blood pressure. Actually, it watches my heart rate. And I looked at my watch just as he was starting to put us down for the second time. And I thought, well, this will be interesting, because I was supposed to go meet my guides. Now, I knew I had guides, but it wasn't like a first name basis. It wasn't like they came over to dinner or anything else. And I'll save that story for another day, but I ran into my guide. I woke up, I was in this kitchen, and in the Carolinas with this very tall woman, African American, and I looked at her and I said, "Hi, I'm Nancy," and she said, "Yes, I know." And I said, "Are you my guide?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, you know my name. What's yours?" And she said it was Addie. And then that went to the whole meeting of Addie. And even though I was only out like 20 minutes, I gathered all this information. So Addie's now my friend. And I realized she has always been there. She told me that. I was always with you. And I said, "Well, gee, I'm sorry I didn't pay more attention to you. I guess I should have found out more about you." And she said, "No, it didn't matter. You did what I wanted you to do." So that's all she cared about. So if you can't go to a conference, how can you find a guide? After that, I started deciding maybe taking small trips to go look at things and see how people did stuff, worked. And so I flew to Denver to visit with a friend of mine because this person, whose name you may recognize, Radley Valentine, he's done a lot of just incredible tarot decks, but this was his book, How to Be Your Own Genie. And I read this book just before I met him. And this is an incredible book about how to, and it's not a fat book, right? So you can read this in a couple days or however fast you read. It was an incredibly enlightening book because I realized I'd been taking a lot of the steps he'd been taking and that I'd resisted going places he talked about going. And I sort of used it like a little Nancy works with Addie guide to figure out more about guides and increasing my spiritual life. He also came out with a book the next year, which was called A Compendium of Magical Things. And for those of you who say, should I read cards? Should I throw dice? Should I throw the pendulum? Should I do what? This book encompasses everything. It's got I Ching in it. It's got a really good explanation of astrology. It's an excellent guidebook if you're like, I don't know which way to go. I don't know what I want to do. So those were two of the things that I did. And while I was there and I met him, he also talked about this book. And this book, I love Radley, and I think his book's really good. But if you want to read a book about how to personally empower yourself, Angels Speak. When I first heard about this book, it wasn't in print anymore. And it's written by two sisters, one of whom is now on the other side. And these guys were on Good Morning America in the 1980s, talking about the kind of spiritual stuff we're doing now. I mean, they were real pioneers in it. And their names are Barbara Mark and Trudy Griswold. And both of them, when they're talking, when they're narrating the story, let's see if I find a page that shows it. Okay. How to know if it's your angel's message. This is one. So they asked that, and what the angels would do is when the angels talk to them, when they asked questions or they laid out a situation, it was in black print. And then over here, this one. See, it's in red. The angels speak. The angels speak to you in the red. So that's when they were channeling in the angels. And it's absolutely fascinating. And through the use of this book, I found Frank. Now, Frank's always been there too. But I did some automatic writing, and they have a real good explanation of doing some automatic writing and how to protect yourself when you do automatic writing. And Frank channeled in, and in one afternoon, I knew who he was and why he was there. And since then, everything that's happened around me has proved to me that that's true. So those are some things you can do. Now, if you don't want to buy a book, but you've got a computer or you've got a cell phone, you can also look at this group. And I really like these people. Daily Ohm. It's got a daily newsletter. And when I was pulling up ones that I thought was interesting, the questions I'm getting is, how do I start? Where do I go? I think I'm lost. Now, if you think you've been moving on a path and you're lost now, that's really good news. That means you've moved outside of your comfort zone and you're feeling lost, like you've wandered down a trail in the woods and now where do I go? Or if you're like me and are a big city person, you've thought you followed the map and you didn't. Or like two of my friends who tried to come and visit me last Friday, we did eventually get together, but they got over into a part of Dallas they were totally unfamiliar with and their GPS went down, which is all kinds of fun. So, but they found it and they kind of got to see a part of the city they wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise, and da 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 da. Those are the lovely ladies that brought me the beautiful bag for the solar eclipse. But I found this daily ohm from Trial and Error, and I think there's couple first sentences say it. Anyone who has asked for divine guidance knows that it can be challenging when it comes. This is because divine guidance comes in many forms, and sometimes it's hard to locate. We aren't sure if we're meant to trust our own thoughts, decide it's divine wisdom. We're not sure if the advice from a friend is in the form of guidance, or is it there to mislead us? Sometimes we ask for guidance and we already have a sense of what we want to hear. At such times, receiving guidance can be difficult because if it tells us what we don't want to hear, we don't want to listen to it. Cultivating an active relationship with the divine is an essential ingredient of being able to move forward. And I think what I'm getting from people is, I feel so lost. I want to try something new. Another thing I did was Daily Ohm has a lot of courses, and they're not expensive. As a matter of fact, they'll let you pay as little as $10 for most of them. And I took the course on EFT, which is tapping, doing that. And I did it. I did the whole course. It's like 30 lessons. And once you buy a course, it's there forever. I can go back in and take that tapping course. And I took it in right after my knee surgery. I took it about 10 years ago. I started taking it. And I did the tapping with my emphasis on losing weight. And when I finished that course, I was able to get on a diet and lose 100 pounds. I'm not promising that's going to happen to you. And I don't even know how EFT works. But I do know that it was big for me in helping me be able to change my attitudes and shift myself. It's kind of like, you can look at Daily Ohm courses and they've got seated yoga, they've got quick guides to meditation, they've got courses. They have a pretty good course on tarot, which I did take. She has a very different approach to it than I do, but I really enjoyed learning what she was talking about. They have all kinds of, just to give you a taste of what something is. And like I said, they kind of let you name your price, and it can be as low as $10. And for $10, and they're like all 6 or 8 weeks, that's a bargain if it's giving you a taste of it. Because you can say, I'm going to watch Nancy Jean talk about doing thus and so. But guys, I'm not the consistent wizard I would like to be. So sometimes I talk about things that really might interest you, and sometimes I talk about things that really might put you to sleep. And so there's no telling. But with them, you buy a course, they give you a chance, they give you an intro so you can see what it's about. That might be another place. Now, there may be a lot of other inexpensive places to do that. I just don't know where they are. I know that the Daily Ohm daily little newsletters are so good that I have a whole file full of them. They've got ones called Good Vibrations, Seeking Harmonizing Sounds That Surround Us, How to Tie Into Your Life's Natural Rhythms, which was one I used when I needed to calm down. And then when I really get off my diet, they've got this little one which says, Eating Right to Feel Better. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they inspire you to feel better about yourself. They remind you about things. They remind you about dealing with other people and other people's attitudes. And and some days it'll hit me and I don't want to hear about that today, but I'll read it because it's worth it to me. And that's another thing I do. Another thing that I have out on the table, I'm going to go back and look and see if there's like tons in there. Okay. I feel like I've been lost all my life. Part of what these simple exercises is they give you a chance to feel right. They give you a chance to, even reading the daily things, does that strike a bell with me? And part of why you felt lost all your life is if you every time you start down a positive path, if you hear something screaming at you that you're lost, or talking to you loudly and telling you you're lost, listen to the voice, listen to it very carefully, and then figure out whose voice is that, because that is a message from your early years coming up to get you. And I had some pretty loud speakers in my early years, but I also just started being who I was, that my spirit guides wouldn't let me go. Other people tell me their spirit guides went away when they were kids. Mine never did. So I can't really speak to that. But I can tell you, it's, if you want help from your guides, Debbie, you need to ask every day, can you show me another thing? Can you show me a way? Or can you lead me to understand, or to comprehend, or to feel it in my heart? And if I can find those, I'm going to read. Okay, I'm going to talk about dowsing now. Next time we meet about this topics, I am going to have the two poems I have. One is My Heart and My Mind Divorced 10 years ago, and how did I learn to live with it? And the other is about how a girl was shamed into not being herself, and how she goes out into the woods and listens to the trees, and they waken her up. And they really help. I can tell you, Debbie, because I can't say I've been lost all my life. I can tell you I've been misunderstood most of my life. But, and I'm sure that there are people in the room that can totally relate to what you're saying there. But, and it's not that I've always felt like I knew. If you could talk to some of the psychics that I talked to, and I said, what the hell am I going to do next? I just went through that. It started last November, and I was doing things I was very good and skilled at, but it's like, been there, done that. And I felt like there was more coming, and I feel like there's more coming right now. And I'm opening myself up to everything I've done. That's why I dug all this stuff up for you guys. What we're going to look at next is dowsing. And we're going to go to the table because I have a whole bunch of graphics to show you about dowsing. Now, dowsing means using a pendulum. And the single best reference I can give you that you can get for free, and you can get it off my website. I didn't steal it from, this is my version, and obviously I put my teacups on my papers. It's called A Letter to Robin, and it's a mini course on dowsing. Now, they say it's a mini course. That's their idea of a mini course. But you can just flake through there, and you can learn everything you kind of ever really wanted to know about using a pendulum. And it holds up with everything I've ever done with a pendulum. It holds up with my friends who use pendulums a lot. It's what Danny and I used when we did a course a year and a half ago on dowsing, and we came up with the dowsing garden. This is also available on my website. If you go to resources, there's a little folder up at the top. Click on there, and you can download these. They're all PDFs. And this is the dowsing garden that we stole from Robin's letter. We juiced it up and fixed it to our things. One of the first things that I like about people who start with using dowsing, it says, do I have permission to dowse? That question's on here. Am I aligned with my higher self? That's a good question to ask for yourself. And am I fully protected? And I'll tell you my story about this is, I said things like that. Danny kind of culled it down to these three after we talked about it. But when I would sit down to read, I always ask those questions like, do I have your permission to be here? Am I aligned with my higher self and my guides to be able to work here? And am I fully protected? Now, as many of you know, and what rock do you live on if you don't know this? I used to work in a vintage antique store which was full of all sorts of old clothing and stuff people had brought in and all kinds of weird stuff. And when COVID came, I just walked away one day and just went home and said, I'm not going. It was about the 14th of February. I didn't come back out in the real world until really this year, pretty much. I mean, I did a couple things, but not much. But last Halloween, because I owed Gretchen, the lady who owned the store, so much, because she had taken me in when my knees had been repaired, but I wasn't walking all that good. And she gave me a place to be and a reason to be there. And I said, would you like me to come in for Halloween, which is one of her biggest days? She said, I'd love it. So she advertised it, got more people in. I showed up, I read, but before I read, I set out the dowsing chart on the table in the place I used to always read. And I swung the pendulum. I said, and I always start in a circle and let it find its own path. Do I have permission to dowse? That says yes. Am I aligned with my higher self? Yes. Am I fully protected? Yes. Well, it says yes here. But at Gretchen's, I was holding it like I was holding this, and I was swinging it, and the whole rock just took off and flew across 2 aisles of the store. And I went, whoa. So I lit some more candles. I got out some incense. I brought out my heavy duty protective stones, like my shungite triangle, to protect me, put them all around me, and started again. And now it said I was protected. I was okay. And of course, the reason it would say I wasn't protected in there is there's a lot of energy flowing around that store. So after I closed down for that day, I went around Gretchen's store with some what are you? I have some Indian holy water. It's from Florida water. Took some Florida water out and sprayed it all around the store and told whatever it was that it wasn't welcome there and it could leave. And Florida water smells really pretty, and it's better than burning sage around in the store because a lot of people come into stores and they have asthma and they can't take the smoke. So I did that, and I sprayed it around and talked to it and told it to go. Gretchen has a ghost in her store that she wants to stay. So I got to know him. It's the only one I've ever really gotten to know, and he's a Civil War soldier. He's in a Southern uniform. I am in Texas. He would be. And he guarded her store. But when COVID started, he left. And she called me up one day and she said, is my soldier still here? And I said, are you seeing him? And she says, no, I'm not feeling him. Because she learned that most of the way she could be around him was to feel him. And I did a meditation and I said, no. And she said, can you get him back? And I said, well, ghosts don't work like that. And when I meditated on it, I called her a couple weeks later and I told her, he's walking around the neighborhood. The amount of work he has to do to protect people has gotten so much greater. And as soon as COVID kind of eased off, I mean, her store was closed by that time because nobody was open and she was doing everything online. By the time they kind of reopened to the public, and she was strict, you couldn't go in there unless you had a mask on. And I mean, if they saw you lifting your mask off your face, you were asked to leave. And she's like real tall, so she can tell people things like that. And she kept a good shop, and she kept both of her shops going and made money through COVID. So give the woman some credit. But he came back. When I was there at Halloween, he was back. So I was very careful to sort of not spray around his. And I also ordered whatever the energy was in there not to go near the ghost. I trust he can protect himself, because at one point she had a Goodfellows. I think that's what they're called. It's like the Brotherhood of Goodfellows or something. And what they do is one of them, when he dies, he gives his body to his chapter, and he's been defleshed, the skeleton is put in a coffin and it's displayed at their chapter houses. And at one point, one of her vendors got one of those to sell. I cannot tell you how fast and how much energy I put into getting that sucker out of there. And he was put right next to where the Civil War soldier was. But the Civil War soldier lasted through that. So he was a pretty strong guy. So we're talking about dowsing. Okay. You saw how I douse. And I come in usually with a set of intentional questions. And I don't think I have any more in the comments. Okay. I don't see many people asking. So we're going to ask. I have a friend who's about to take a road trip, and she shall remain anonymous, but she's in the chat. And I'm going to douse because I can talk to her later if I don't like the answer. And see, is your trip going to go smoothly? Oh, yeah, that's a really strong yes. And it went right to it. So you can have a wonderful trip. Avoid the deers. She hit a deer on a long trip once. Okay. Also, Danny and I designed this chart when people really started to get into where's my vibration. And this was also geared to what is my vibration right now? Okay. It swung over here. This means it's at 1,000. And then this starts at 10 and goes all the way up to 1,000. And it tells you where your vibration is. 1,000 is really good. Danny did an experiment once where his vibration had been really good and he was really feeling great. And he watched the local news and it plummeted. So I'm warning you, it's going to happen. Now, what I'm going to tell you about now to help you with dowsing is, and I think this is, it may not be the end. Subtil. Okay. This comes from a website called subtil.net. All of these charts are pendulum charts for different things. This whole little stack, and that's just a little stack that I've printed off over days. There is a huge PDF file out there, and it's a company in France. But if you go to this address, you'll find it. And they don't necessarily tell you how to use them, but this one happens to be for brain waves. So let's see if I have any brainwave. I kind of think it won't be too high because I will deal well with the public when I get too high. Where's my brainwave? Where is my brainwave? Oops, it hit the sheet. Where is my brainwave? Where is my brainwave? Where is my brainwave? It's in low alpha, which is, I guess, not too bad. I wouldn't expect to be in some of these because that means you're asleep. And though I may be putting you into some of those brainwaves, I don't expect to be there. And okay. And this is one for yes, no, maybe, and timing. And I don't have a question for it, but that's what you can use them for. You can also use them in this one if you want to know if a certain person is affecting you, if someone's around you and you know what their sun sign is, you can use it. It's got the month they're born in, their signs, their zodiac signs. And you can use it if you want to use your dowsing to douse that way. Let's see what this way is. A lot of these are timing ones, and I printed it the wrong way, so it didn't come out so good. This one is, these are critters, and you can ask for what your token animal is. Let's see what if I get. What's my token animal? What's my totem animal? Grasshopper and turtle. That'll have to do for today. But mine's not on here. Hummingbird's not on here. So, or dragonfly. Okay, this one has a marker on it. It says, am I ready to douse? Okay, ask away. And I got poor concentration. Please trust us. Now is not the time. Okay. I'm thinking about starting a new class. What can you tell me about my starting a new class? We are occupied later. I'm going to take it that's a Mercury retrograde reading. Oh, this is the elementals. It's elves, brownies, moss people, guardian of the tree. That's sort of like a Hogarth sort of thing. Guardian of the forest, lady of the forest, lord of the forest, and then whether this is friendly, neutral, grumpy, or bugger off. So, which of my elementals would like to speak with me today? Elves. Elves. And okay, what's their attitude towards me? Neutral. So that's not bad. I did get bugger off once when I first pulled this chart. So now I'm going to go back and see if any of you have comments that you want to know about. Yeah, Tammy, send your channel message away. That's fine. Send it to me. I'll look at it. And Karen Johnson says she went through natural healing fields. Going through cancer and chemos led me in a different place of experiencing more spiritual things and getting in touch with your gifts. That can happen. 2 true rows, all month is retrograde. And okay. Anyway, I think you get the idea of how these charts go. So these charts, some of them are based for specific questions. Some are on what percentage is going to happen. This one's on timing. It's yes, no, maybe. Early morning thing gets months and days and years and dates and all kinds of fun stuff. So if you're really, really interested in trying something out that's new and different, that's what I'm going to be presenting to you guys is how these things kind of work. And then, but I'm going to tell you, nothing works unless you work it. Nothing moves unless you try it. Like I said, I found the letter to Robin in that whole dowsing site after I had a YouTube channel for almost 2 years. So it never stops. You never stop learning. You never stop looking. You never stop looking for what is the new good fit for you. And let's see. Dr. Gail is taking a break from packing. Okay, before I go to Mimi, yay, Celtic Seer. This gives me a chance to talk about something. From June to December, I do a 6-month reading, like I do a 12-month reading. And what I throw in is at the end, we pull a crystal for you and I send you the crystal that I think you need. So if you go on my website, it's already posted. I'm starting to, if you pay for it, we'll start booking it. I'll start booking in late May because I always end up with people, at the last minute wanting the 6 months. But it's best if you do it April or May because then you have the whole 6 months to work with it. And it may be best if you wait till the end of April, till the Mercury retrograde's gone away. I'm not suspicious about that in my readings, but it might make it clearer for you. And thank you, Celtic Seer. Celtic Seer is a dear sweet lady who lives in New York City. And she's looking for work, as I understand it right now, too. So let's all put up good thoughts for her finding But it might be best if you can hold out till the end of the month, girl. Okay, we're gonna do Mimi Knee's garden reading. What's going on around Mimi Knee? Okay. Oops. You got an extra stone in there, girl. I'm going to roll it again because I picked up your cornerstone, which is quartz, which doesn't. Okay. Okay, yeah, you're supposed to be more in the middle. That one. They were all fleeing this. What's this stone that's on the board that we don't know? We're going to look at what's emerging for you right now. And I'm going to put this in like the next. It's a year reading because it's in all segments. So this is for a year. Final thoughts are really coming to you on a situation, but you're not quite there on it because there's more information that's being brought forward to you right now. Your spirit is in fire. And for some reason, thoughts from the past are pulling you back and not letting you move forward. You need to get rid of those to move forward. That might be the information that you're going to get here. Think strongly as your body is in water, and you're going to be helped because you're capable of being very grounded and taking care of yourself because your clarity is way out here in air. Be sure your thoughts are clear. So for the next year, it's telling me when you come to things have changed, make sure you're not letting your past drag you back, that you let yourself go so you can move freely forward. And that will help you a whole lot. Okay. I've got what's going on? Okay. I have so much paperwork here. I try to get this over here without spilling it, and it could be tricky. Okay, I don't know if you saw my past shows, but last weekend I got my hair cut when I went to see my guy who's been cutting my hair. He's been cutting my hair for 45 years. And because we do it by my daughter's birthday. She's 48, and he started cutting her hair when she was 3, and that's the same time he started cutting mine. And I used to make these little packets called crystal compasses, and you can find them on my website. But I thought I'd sold them all, and I was during COVID, and I didn't want to deal with making more of them or dealing with it. So I didn't want to set up my print so it could print that tiny again. But what it's got in is it's Art of the Heart, Crystal Cash, and Body and Soul. And Art of the Heart, I think, is pretty obvious. That's for things for when you want to have things and that can be for self-care. Art of the Heart can be part of self-care. Crystal Cash I think it's pretty obvious. It's to try and pull money in. This Art of the Heart has rose quartz, amazonite, and bronzite. And is it bronzite? No. Sodalite, because it looked brown. I was going to say, no, it's supposed to be blue. Sodalite. Crystal Cash is aventurine, pyrite, and citrine. And in the little bag comes in instructions on how to set them up. You also get, with each one, a little teeny tiny fluorite, a little bitty one to put in the middle. You can set them up like a grid, where they're kind of like this around the grid. Or you can carry them in the bag, or you can just carry them any way you want. And Body and Soul is for physical and energetic health. Crystal Cash is abundance, and Art of the Heart is for self-care and self-love. I sold 5 of them this week from the first time I showed them. I have maybe 15 left, maybe 12 left. But if you hop over to my website, which is at there. And I got to go back and hide. if you go there, and I can get rid of that one too. Subteal will not help you get these. Okay, if you go to my website, they're on there, and order them. I'll know immediately when you have. And like I said, I packed off several of them this week already. I showed them one day last week. When these are gone, I think they're going to be gone. I'm not sure about resurrecting them. I'm certainly not going to resurrect them in this form. They'll be a little bit different. If I do anything like this, it'll be a couple stones you can put in your pocket, and it may be a long time ago. These grew out of where I used to do individualized readings and then give people little things instead of having to buy a whole big fat grid, and it came because people said, I love my grid, but I can't carry it with me. So that's where this came from. And so those are available. Hello, Louise McDonald. Okay, I can't comment on what Danny teaches, although I've taken some of his guided things too. Sometimes having a major illness does help us clear out an old scar. And that's all I can say to that, because I've not had that kind of major illness. I had God let me walk even though I was going in the wrong direction until he said, you can't walk anymore. And before I had my knees replaced, guys, I couldn't walk. If I wanted to go somewhere with a friend, we'd have to figure out how far any parking or any place they could drop me off was from the door, or where I could get to a seated place. How many steps exactly, because I knew exactly how far I could walk, and then I'd have to stop because I was walking bone on bone and my knees were in shock, and that was walking with a cane. So I know what it took me when I was laying there in the hospital and deciding, now I'm working really hard to make my legs work better. Where am I walking to? And the first thing I did when I got out of having my knees replaced and could get to where I could get around pretty much on my own, I had to use a walker. But I ended up reading at the Times 10 wine cellars every Tuesday night. And then that opened that whole side of my life up. So apparently God, I was so stubborn, God had to saw me off at the legs to get me to move in the right place. I don't know that I can say that for everybody or that's the answer for you, but let's see. Okay. Thank you to there was 40 at one point. There's 34 now. I have no idea. These numbers never make sense. As soon as I click off and I look on YouTube, they're all different anyway. By the way, if you like my show, please hit the like button. It makes a huge difference with YouTube now. When I've gotten a lot of likes, when you get more than 50% of the people who watched it, no matter how small the number, that like it, they tend to move your show on. If someone says, I want to see something new in tarot, I want to see something new in spiritual growth. And the other part is that if you can subscribe, I don't know how you'd be here if you didn't subscribe. I don't know how you find me, unless you know she goes every Tuesday or Thursday at 1. But really subscribing. Thank you. I've got 38 likes right now, and I only have 37 people watching. Woo! I'm impressed. But I had 44 at the height, so I think I'm catching people on lunch break. Here's another person commending my reading, so I'm going to go up and pull up her thing. Jen Miranda, I want to thank you for the previous read. You mentioned a communication the same day I received a call that forced me to communicate with someone I had a tumultuous history with. It's always great. You guys have no idea. I remember I've met Radley Valentine personally a few times, and as a matter of fact, he signed my books and he signed my deck. And we were talking, and he mentioned something to me. It was when he had a little radio show he did, and I went on the next week and said, I want to thank you and I want to let you know this is what happened. And he told me I was one of like maybe 3 times in his life that people had gotten back to him to tell him if he was accurate or not. And I get people telling me I'm accurate all the time, but a lot of people I'm close to, so they'll tell me. And I've also had a lot of people said, I thought you meant I should rushed out and met with that person that I thought I'd written out of my life. You told me to be more open. Well, and you learn something. And that's all I can say. So we're going to be doing a lot more stuff about private journeys. We're going to talk about symbols in the tarot. We're going to talk about journaling, which is another easy way. All you need is a pen and a piece of paper. I'll talk a little more about automatic writing. I am not an expert in automatic writing by any means, but I can explain to you what worked for me. And with that, I'm going to check the bottom of the comments. Well, thank you to everybody who showed up today. And like I said, like and subscribe. And even more important in the world of YouTube, if you share my reading with someone, you share, I really like this show. I thought you might enjoy it, or it's something we discussed, or whatever you want to put on. I share people's shows quite a bit. And it really helps your numbers. And it's not hard. There's a little arrow that goes, oop, share, and you can share by email, or just share it out on if you have a channel, you can share it out on your channel. Anyway, thank you so much to everybody. I will see you Sunday if you're a Sunday morning political person. I can't imagine what we're going to have to talk about. Life's so slow in the world of politics. And to the gardeners, right now it looks like we're going to have a class on Saturday in the garden. If you're a subscriber, not a subscriber, if you're a member with a gardener pass, you can come and join our garden meeting. And we not only look at the garden, practice reading on the garden, we also bring our own questions and we help each other answer our own questions. And sometimes we just put the garden away and we just sit and chat. So if you're interested in something like that, look up on what it means to join my channel and see what that level is. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.